Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight Entertainment. I'm Alexis Soto, joined by David Francisco again for our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recap, rewatch, commentary, reaction series. We are back for the first time in 2 weeks, probably the longest 2 weeks of my life, if you're being serious about that. A lot has happened. We had to go down for a hiatus, a little bit one. To get some things situated here. As you can see, David is reporting from an undisclosed location. He is currently in hiding right now, so that's why we had to completely move our operation. And then, of course, I'd been on vacation, and it's been something of a whirlwind. But we're back here. We obviously love this show. We've loved having all the engagement that we had with all of you, and we so can't wait to come back here and talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. here with you guys. Today, we are going to discuss the 11th. No, I'm sorry, correct. Let me rewind the tape here. We're here with the 12th episode of Season 1 called Seeds. This is directed by Kenneth Fink, written by Monica Owusu-Breen and Jed Whedon. This was broadcast on ABC Television Network on the 14th of January 2014 to 6.37 million viewers. Yes, guys. So listen, as per usual, we want to begin the show by just informing everybody who may be coming across this. Of course, this show is not so much for the first-time viewer, but for the long-time viewer that wants to come back here and discuss more S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to be going through all 136 episodes of the show, and as we go along through the show, we don't just discuss what happens on the screen, but we also give a lot of context for, behind-the-scenes stuff that we may know of, and then also of arcs and themes and storylines that are going to come across throughout the future seasons. And invariably, there will be details that will slip out if we find them to be pertinent to what is happening on the screen that may happen years and years from the continuity of the show down the line. So, again, and also for those of you who are not aware of, on our podcast feed, you can find the entirety of our commentary in audio format only. And, of course, the truncated reaction version of it will be here on YouTube, as has been throughout the entire time. David, I'm so happy to be back. I know it's been 2 weeks, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I think it may actually be longer than 2 weeks in for you and I, because usually we do tape some of these things before the fact, so it may be closer to 3 weeks for you and I since the last time we've done this. That being said, as we always say, the fact that we're already on the 12th episode and we've been doing this for 12 weeks already is kind of mind-blowing in and of itself. First, want to ask you, have you been? How have things been like since you've relocated? And then also to go ahead and get started with some of the comments that we have missed since we've been away. And from what I understand, there have been quite a number of comments to get into.
Yeah, and the move has been fine. Still looking for a job. A little bit harder than I thought I was going to be. But, I'm still looking around and everything. But also just being back here feels weird. Just because, I don't like my background now. Everything that I had was gone.
It's not much of a background.
Yes.
That's why I call it an undisclosed location. It's like you're hiding in a bunker.
Yeah. So, I'm sad about that. I was hoping to do, one last one before I left. You would have seen my room empty. And I thought it would have been funny, but oh well. Either way, though, it's just still empty and sad. Oh well.
Well,
but one day.
I don't know how you did it, man. Anytime I moved, that was with a car and not by plane, because there was one time I had to move across the country. But anytime I moved, I took all my crap with me. Not all of it, but a good number of it, because I had to have something hanging on the walls. I just can't be in a room where it's just completely blank, because it kind of kills me.
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, luckily for me though, I have the desk that I'm using. It's kind of hard to show. I'll probably just take a picture of it and put this on post. But
okay,
I have everything that I have here. My books up on the top shelf and some little toy stuff here. So there's something to decorate. You just sadly you can't see it because it's right behind the camera. So, but yeah.
But we can see you, and that's all that matters.
Yes. But yeah. That's just something I gotta get used to. Even this feels weird. I don't know. Because I usually, have the stuff camera here on this side, and yeah, it's off. It's all off, but we'll get used to it. Anyway, I can get on with the comments now. This one's by Serenity Forever 89. If you even sorry, I should say Serenity commented this on our episode 6, Fizzed. It says, if you were even remotely aware of other Whedon works, you knew immediately who Cora was. She was Dawn, she was Connor, and they were hated too. The joy as a scientist on Simmons' face when telling Coulson about how the Chitauri illness spreads, and then barely a season later, the joy becomes fear and sadness when the possibility of inhuman power spreading chaos and pain. God, Jedmo plus company are brilliant storytellers.
Yes, that to the first aspect of it, I'm not too familiar with the other Jedmo shows, but I can understand that for those of you who are versed with them, you could see some more of the connections. On the second point of it, it is quite the bit of juxtaposition, isn't it? Because you have on this first season, like we've been talking about, tracking these characters, who they are now and who they become, and how much whiplash you get in terms of the difference in terms, of where they are and where they go. This first season, in that moment, it's a great kind of comparison, right? Because in this instance, you see her just kind of like be like the curiosity of youth, but even just a year later, just the horror that comes. I know that she herself had to go through something of she had to kind of learn a little bit to calm down because of how things had affected so much of her friends. I mean, the loss of Agent Triplet, who at the moment we haven't even met as far as episode 12 is concerned, but just a season later, she grows so close with him and he dies. And again, this comes at a point where the human biology and just the ancestry and all the information of it is not really known to her. All that Shield knows at that point, when she kind of goes on this like paranoia about like calling it a plague and everything. All that she knows is that Hydra wants to use it and use these powers to destroy. And yeah, when we get to that point of season 2, there were people who had very mixed feelings about like how Simmons went on that turn. And I can understand where it would rub people the wrong way. I would argue that it was supposed to rub you the wrong way. And she was supposed to like, learn from that. And I feel that she largely did, because she really does become the face to help the Inhumans very much in later seasons. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting because there were some big notable moments. I think in season 4, she is whisked away to go help out the brother of Senator Nadir, who is trying to demonize her agency, but she is there to help VJ, I believe. And then she, again, is like put a bag over her head. Right, just as she was able to break him out of his cocoon, she was transported away. And even in season 5, Cassius is able to understand. Cassius and Sonara are able to see how just great she is with them. That she even that they even put her, I believe Abby was her name, the little inhuman girl that they had they put in the arena, and they had Simmons kind of talk her up, and she was able to overcome and use her powers, not through Simmons' volition, of course, but overall Cassius' goal was to sell her into slavery, basically, which is what they ended up doing. So she does have, and she will become a major player in terms of like being a good force for Inhumans and helping them get through it. I mean, I feel like she kind of replaces Lincoln in that sense. She becomes that guide, if you will, right? We talk about how Inhumans need this guide, and I think she becomes that. But interestingly enough, that before she becomes that, she kind of ends up being kind of a fearmonger, but not necessarily intentionally so. It's just she ends up being that kind of by the environment that she was exposed to primarily at that point. But I think the point that this person, Silver Surfer, is making is that, well, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to see how much the characters do change there. But really interesting comment.
Yeah, and that was Serenity.
Okay, I'm so sorry. It was I was like, wait, that wasn't. Yeah, Serenity. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, Next comment, also Serenity. This was under episode 7. My personal headcanon is that this Agent Shaw is Owen's father, making him Deke's paternal grandfather, because very few non-shield inhuman folk ended up in the lighthouse when the world was quaked apart.
What episode?
Episode 7, The Hub.
Are they referring to the shield agent that we see at the very beginning, Agent Shaw? I think that's who else. I don't think anybody else fits the bill. But that's the Hub, correct? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Agent Shaw is the person that had the little like flash drive thing up his nose, and they had to like take it out, right? I think that's the one who we met, and I believe what Serenity is saying, that her personal headcanon is that this agent ended up being the what of Deke? What did they say?
Is Owen's father, making him Deke's paternal grandfather.
Deke's. Okay. Interesting. And at this moment, I can't. Is Owen supposed to be that person that we meet alongside him that was banished to the surface of the earth to protect Robin, or is Owen supposed to be his actual father? Because Owen, I'm sorry, forgive me, I can't recall quite specifically who Owen is at this moment, but I have to imagine it's one of those two. I know that in the canon that Fitzsimmons are the grandparents, and I suppose that must mean that their daughter. Oh God, whose name is also escaping me at this moment. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a bad fan.
I don't remember these names either. I mean,
can you remember?
No.
Yeah. So I guess I should. Yeah. But if that's a personal headcanon, cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll figure it out once we get to it at some point. Next comment, also Serenity. This is under episode 8, The Well. There are a few connections in May's defining Cavalry Let the Girl Go moment. Not only the connection between hers and Kadia's powers, but also that her and Andrew were talking about having children at the time, and then we learned the following season that Andrew is inhuman, meaning there was 50% chance that if they had a child, it would also be inhuman.
Yeah.
Like Katia and like the daughter and like the daughters Daisy and Robin that May adopts over the course of the series.
It is a really interesting when you take the full context of the show, and this is why we're doing this show, because it's really interesting to look at the character's evolution and also just what happens. Yes, May in this very part of the show is just very much anti-people with powers. Maybe not so much anti, but she's like very much prepared to put them down and very much on guard against them because of her experiences. But it is very interesting to consider the fact that throughout the course of the show, the very thing that scares her the most, people with powers, that's what her ex-husband becomes. What a potential daughter would become if they would have had a child. That's why they break up in the first place. She moves away because she just doesn't want to feel anything anymore, but they were planning to have a kid, and then she has to kill a kid, and that destroys her completely that she had to do that. And she kind of just like loses herself completely. And then at the time when they come back around and give it a second go at it, he ends up getting caught by this Terrigen crystal, and it makes him an inhuman. And it only not just makes him an inhuman, but it makes him an inhuman that is that's killing various others. And that also is leaving another hole for her. But then, wouldn't you know that by the end, her own the closest thing that she ever comes to a daughter, Daisy Johnson, is an inhuman herself, who she helps to raise, so to speak. And then, of course, by the end of the series, she not necessarily is inhuman, but she ends up growing abilities herself, which thematically tie into her really coming back into her own and getting back in tune with her emotions. She also forms a close relationship with Yo-Yo by the end of the show as well. So it's like, yeah, it's just really interesting. But I just feel like that the credit should be given to the writers. Are just like, again, none of this was ever like thought up of, and nothing ever is. But I think it's just, kudos to them for making these connections along the way and making it feel as if like, wow, that actually really goes well together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then these next comments are from episode 10, The Bridge. First one's from Silva Surfa. Hello, fellow agents. Hope this message finds you well as always. I'm going to push back a little on the whale conversation, in particular, Season 3, Episode 9. That episode is one of my least liked of the series because this was the point of Season 3 being massively rewritten due to the actor playing Will, the astronaut, being fired. Coulson being so brokenhearted and revenge-driven by losing Rosalind felt really forced to me. I always wondered if that scene with Thomas was part of the rewrites or part of the plan all along. Thank you both for this great show you do, so dorks like me can talk about the show I love.
Well, thank you so much for that comment, and of course, that's what we're doing this show for. I'm gonna have to do some digging on what you just said there, because I'm not previously that knowledgeable of what you're talking about in that situation. I don't know. To me, and look, there may very well have been some issues behind the scenes, and honestly, there always are. When you said rewriting, I assume you meant them getting ready to basically kick Bobby and Hunter off the show, because that's when this was going to happen. They were going to get kicked off the show to get their own show, which in and of itself was unfortunately never got the green light to become a show. It just had a pilot, and then they didn't order it, but by that point it had been too late. But it turns out you're saying that there was some other things happening when it comes to the actor of Will, but to my understanding, I don't believe he was ever meant to be on the show for longer than what he was. I think he was only... The purpose he was there to serve, to my view, was served. And so I'm not sure what would have been gained by having him continue being on the show. Okay, I can understand perhaps them and what they did with Thomas not being to your liking. I do want to say, for those of you, there was quite a bit of pushback about what I said on the well. I feel like we're going to have to keep track of this as we go. And all I can only say is speak for myself. I'll go back and I'll watch it, and we'll see how I feel about it. And then we'll also watch it at some point all together when we get to that point in season 3. I just say that for me, it tracks that Ward, being the sociopath that he is, would very much feel as if he was completely blameless for that situation. And I feel that by the time we get to the end of Ward's character, they definitively make it clear that not only does he feel that he's blameless, but go figure, he's not actually blameless. Like, he has actually a big part in the blame to do it, no matter if he was made to or not by his older brother. But the fact that Thomas even being the younger brother, saying that everything changed after that. Yeah, however much we might want to like aspects of Ward from season 1, by the time we get to the 3rd season, that person no longer is there, and he kind of completely threw himself into being a complete, a person who has no remorse whatsoever for the death left in his wake, and somebody who is just actively toxic. He's just not at all somebody who is in tune with reality or his part in it. So to me, that tracks, but I can maybe perhaps see why for others that might not be so clean. Not that it necessarily is, it may very well be the case that this version of events changed to really much, go with what they were trying to say. The whole thing with Coulson, we'll get there when we get there. I feel like that's more. I don't want to discuss that right now, but we'll get there when we get there. Next, David.
Okay. Same person, Silva Sofa. I like the idea of doing a top 5 episodes of every season. Looking forward to hearing your faves of season 1 after the finale.
Okay.
So, yeah, we can do that.
I think we're on track for that idea as well. So that will for sure, in whatever shape or form we want to do it, that'll happen. You'll get a ranking of some sort.
Yeah. And also commented, I cracked up with you guys when Alexis spoiled the twist for David in the episode.
Yeah, that better be in quotation marks and as spoiled, because, like, I mean,
you
watch the show, you've seen it before the fact, and it ain't my fault that you forgot about it, you know.
Yeah, and also, Silva, he spelled your name Alexus, and put in parentheses, did I spell that right? No, it's Alexis.
It's fine.
Yeah, people get it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. This one's from Shieldvids. Just to comment, he tried to burn Christian in the house. There is logic there because he hates him and his parents. Thomas himself said Ward was his best friend before he threw him in the well, meaning he never physically hurt Thomas before then, though he did hurt him by killing everyone else.
But in that same sentence, he did say that everything changed after that. And in the season before, both Christian and Grant are talking about an event in which somebody physically threw him down the well.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, Grant says that Christian, these names, Christian made Grant throw Thomas down the well. Again, you know, I'm just, look, we'll get there when we get there, okay, folks? I don't quite, I mean, I felt strongly one way about it, but now I'm feeling maybe not so sure, so we'll get there when we get there.
Hold on. Okay, there's another comment having to do with the whole situation, but it's,
I imagine.
Just because I find it cool. Serenity said, gonna back up my buddy Shield Vids as they totally have the correct take on the Ward family drama. It was very trickle down, or should that be trickle up, considering it began with the youngest Ward brother. Mrs. Ward treating Thomas better than Christian, and Grant is why Christian bullied Grant. Wait. Oh yeah. Grant, it's why Christian was so easily able to convince Grant, who felt neglected by his mother, just like Christian did, to bully Thomas. And it's why Grant, of his own accord, tried to burn the house down and his family inside. By the way, I'm not defending Ward. I hate him, but there's a reason for his psycho.
No. You know what? Maybe this is the part that people are maybe I didn't communicate this clearly as I should be. In the large canon of cinema, and a lot of the stuff that we have discussed between you and I, we have many characters who come from a place, and I think perhaps initially we don't quite understand, but at some point we will. I know that with Thanos, in the Avengers films, there was quite a bit of like hoopla about like whether or not the feelings that he claimed to feel for Gamora was real love or not. There was a lot of debate about that, and I feel like, to me, they really didn't need to. Obviously, it wasn't, but the point was that he considered it to be love, and that's all kind of what you needed from there. In this circumstance, yes, obviously there is a reason for the way that he is. I didn't mean to say that he was a sociopath just because. Clearly, what happened, how he is because of where he came from and the people who he was around, as are we all. I thought that kind of went without say, but yeah, I hope I didn't communicate to people that, there weren't, I would say, legitimate reasons for why he is the person that he is. As Serenity was saying, there's no excuse and there's not a defense of the character's actions, but it helps us understand who they are. And yeah, I agree with that completely.
That whole situation with the Ward and his brothers, I just have no idea at this point what the heck is going on. I'm so confused by you guys' conversation. So, like, I really cannot comment about it. And I'm honestly surprised on this one, Serenity bringing up, like, his parents and how they raised him and everything. I'm like, did they even show that in the show? Like,
they don't show it, but they say it several times.
Okay.
And in season 1, they more allude to it. But by the time we got to season 2, there were more confirmations that the parents were abusive in one way or another.
Okay. This one's from Gary Marshall. One of the issues of long form shows is that sometimes you have to sometimes you have to rearrange the board, introduce new elements, and generally remind the viewers of what has been going on so that they are ready for the next episode. The Bridge is one of those episodes, and just like season 1, episode 16, and season 4, episode 14 will do, does it really well and leaves us on the thrilling cliffhanger. Whilst.
This person's clearly British. They say it that way. Whilst. It's like while, but whilst.
Oh, okay. Whilst not as action-packed as previous episodes, there are plenty of fun team moment. Fitzsimmons fawning over Mike is hilarious, and their dialogue is typically them. When did you stop talking about 3 embarrassing sentences ago?
I love it.
That was great.
I love it. Yeah.
That was a good joke. Yeah.
Totally agreed.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is a common thing with the long form shows with the rearranging of the board and all that. You really do notice it if you rewatch any of your favorite shows of like, oh yeah, this is how they did it and all that, blah, blah, blah. Last comment. This is from Jack Dubs, and this is under the community post when I made the first one about not posting a reaction. He just put, good luck with the move, David. Best wishes, which thank you very much.
Yes, I was so happy to see that people saw the community post, and that's how it was our way to communicate that we were going to be gone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, without any further ado, shall we go ahead and get into this?
You were dead for days.
I wanted to die.
And we should
have I guess I should, again, remind myself, perhaps you might not remember certain things. Do you remember much of this episode, David?
What is it? Seeds. I think I saw the thumbnail for this one. Was it like a dude frozen?
It involves a person who has abilities of the frozen variety.
Okay. So yeah, this is the episode where Fitz and Simmons go back. Well, I think the whole team goes, obviously, but Fitz and Simmons specifically go back to like the school where they were trained and everything. Can't remember much of the mystery going on, though.
You completely blew the question on von Neumann's entropy. Freaking thermodynamics.
I think you get into it right here.
The test is over, Callie. Just let it go.
Yeah, it's easy for you to...
So yes, this episode is primarily dealing with them returning to the academy, but specifically the academy that they came from. Some of the lore that we get in this episode, based on the interactions between Fitzsimmons and Ward, is that there are different academies for S.H.I.E.L.D., depending on like what your I guess your specialty is, right? Mm-hmm. I think they're going to give them official names when we have the interaction.
Guys, get out.
They can't bust us from coming in here!
But certainly, it's an interesting episode because half of it, or most of it, is based on, Fitzsimmons, and we get to see how they are remembered and how popular they were, and of course we get to see a really interesting bonding moment with Fitz and Donnie Gill that we see here, being something of an outcast. So we'll see some of that, but then also understanding that, of course, in many ways, our conduit into this world is Skye herself, and she's able to be exposed to all that for the first time, and also kind of like arrange where she fits into all of this, which, coincidentally enough, this episode kind of moves a little bit more about like where she comes from and how she fits into this, where we have May and Coulson actually go off on their own to do some digging on that situation. But speaking of Coulson, he's kind of a little bit preoccupied about what happened here. off screen, something major did happen that we didn't quite see here, and they do allude to it. In the time that he...
There's nothing more unsettling. Being a part of something so horrible, completely unaware.
I love how they do this a lot. The character says something unrelated to what we're seeing, but it kind of fits with what else we just saw here. And what she was saying, yeah. So what happened off screen that ever since Coulson came back, he was rescued, Fury did agree to give him a file, it looks like, on his recovery. And it mentioned the procedure. It mentioned how they brought him back. It mentioned the drug, as well, GH323, as we'll come to find out in the next few episodes. But from what I understand, they were very careful to not include any context for the Tahiti project itself, which documented the other subjects that went crazy, or how they went crazy.
Academy of Communications does, but they're the biggest and focused on data analysis.
By far the easiest to get into.
That's where you be, Sky.
Thanks.
It doesn't at all document that Coulson himself was the head of Project Tahiti. So some things there.
We saw him at a low.
It's not easy for anybody. Coulson's tough as they come. He'll be good. Just give him time.
Also, you mentioning when a character says a piece of dialogue that's unrelated to like what we're seeing. You know, what is it? The Incredibles does that a lot in that movie.
Yeah,
If you,
that's
you
true.
really do notice it in that one. Just
Yeah,
recommendation for people.
and this show does it a lot. Actually,
Yeah,
I feel like they
for
almost
sure.
do it in every episode,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it like I feel like all the way to the end. So
No marching in place, no IQs in double digits.
There they are.
here's Agent Weaver, a character who we will see come back at least once this season and a few times the next season.
But both have to be careful about what we call bad seeds. People want to use the tools we give
Oh,
them.
Sky's
Bad seed
comment here.
isn't a shield term, Ward. Just a term.
Yeah, dude, she knows it.
Yeah.
Look at them. The popular kids. Who knew?
I did.
And this isn't also the first time that maybe the first time that we see it, but throughout the show, it is reminded that Fitzsimmons were highly sought after talent, and that key officers in the organization kept an eye on their ideas. In a few episodes, we're gonna find out that Fitz doesn't realize how one of his ideas for a new shield gadget gizmo, he thought that it didn't go anywhere, when it turns out that Director Fury himself actually had one of those gadgets that he used in the Winter Soldier. So that just gives you an idea.
Must make you guys proud. All this history, just wish I was a part of it. It's not self-pity, really. I'm just saying everyone here has earned this. They deserve it. I hacked my way in.
All you need to join is a dedication to the greater good. Coulson saw that in you the moment he met you.
And then also throughout, I want to say, Commander Gonzalez in the next season confirms that he was about to recruit Fitz and Simmons on his carrier, the boat that he's on, before Coulson snatched them up. And actually, we do see the instant that they are recruited by Agent Coulson himself way down the line in season 6. The thing is, they look older, so that they have to use makeup to make them look as they did, even younger. But that scene is actually one of my favorite scenes of the whole show, and one of the best episodes of the whole show. It's called Inescapable. That's the whole Fitzsimmons episode where they get into their minds because they're in the Chronicom memory machine. Interestingly enough, that this show has a running thing with memory machines. But yeah, we do the scene. We do see the scene where Coulson recruits them way down the line. So. They are popular throughout the entirety of the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization. And I also want to go back to that scene that we just saw there with Sky feeling as if that she hacked her way into S.H.I.E.L.D. Which is true. She did. But we're at a point where we're now 12 episodes into this show, and I feel like she's done enough to really prove herself. But again, that's just a poor person's opinion, right? Because apparently from the reviews that we've read, she very clearly had not proven herself, and apparently she's outworn her welcome. So there's that.
If you don't know the history of S.H.I.E.L.D. by now, there's no excuse. Unless you fell asleep in Professor Vaughn's class, that's a perfectly acceptable excuse.
So interestingly, one thing I want to note, we hear Gemma's name a lot. In fact, some of the characters, Fitz and Sky Daisy, called her more Gemma than do some as the show goes on. But it's really interesting how no one ever calls Fitz by his first name. I feel like this is one of the first times we actually get to hear what his first name actually is. It's a really interesting name, Leopold. Mm-hmm. I know I can only think of one instance where Gemma actually calls him Leo, but she only called him that when she was like upset at him. I think in season 2. But can you remember?
It's competitive here, but we usually don't resort to knocking each other off. This isn't operations, no offense.
But David, can you actually remember the one character that referred to Fitz by his full name? Actually, there are 2 characters that we meet later on that refer to him as Leopold, not so much as Fitz.
Didn't his dad in the simulation thing call
That's
him Leopold?
one of them.
I know that. Anyone else though? I'm not really sure.
You're close. You're close. You're really close to it.
Oh, the villain.
Ada, Madam Hydra.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plutonium has the potential to power a city, or to be a nuclear bomb.
Today we'd like to share a few stories from the field in which we learned this lesson, up close.
But I suppose they call him that more so because in that part he's less Fitz and more the Doctor, as they call him, in that arc of the show.
What is this? Hey, what's happening to me? Help me! Help
Which
me!
is really, look how like Fitz this whole season is like, he's a little monkey, like he's adorable, right? But can you ever imagine him being like a character like the Doctor, the villain that he becomes like down the line? By the way, cool effect.
Yeah,
love it.
Find exposed skin.
Cool effect, the comical scream, and the team jumps into action. And again, how do you think Sky would be useful in this situation? Let's watch.
Fitz, talk to me. Something's doing this to him. Find it.
Ward, there it is. Fitz, what now?
Smash the damn thing.
There you go. Again, look how quickly they just did that. That wouldn't have happened in episode 2, 3, or 4, or 5. Wasn't that big of a moment, but it was a pretty good moment for them, and also shows all the other people around them just like how much good of a team they are. And if this is the first time we were seeing him come back, right? This is the second appearance. This is Ian Quinn here. Unexpectedly also, I think at this point we weren't really thinking he would ever come back into the show. So there is that.
Sorry I ruined your lecture. I was really looking forward to it.
It's not your fault, Donnie.
It's really interesting, right? Because I don't know if we caught it here, but their lecture was talking about, scientists and how wide-eyed they are at the beginning, but how they can, along the way, become corrupted by nefarious forces. It reminded me a lot, I don't know if it was intentional, but it kind of reminded me a lot of what Rebecca Hall's character said in Iron Man 3. There was a scene that she had with Pepper Potts about, I believe, Warner or something, Vaughn, I think, about this Nazi scientist that was recruited after the war. And it's in that scene in Iron Man 3 when I believe, what's his name? Aldrich Killian kicks the door in and then kidnapped them both. I don't even know if you remember that movie, but that's one of the connections that I drew to it.
Where did you guys hang out when you wanted to get away from the faculty?
Can we tell someone from operations?
Yes, because we need to conduct our own investigation.
But it's also interesting because as far as the context of this show is concerned, this is actually something that they have to grapple with themselves as the show goes on. You may not have realized it, but I believe that little lecture opening here was kind of a big deal because, as we mentioned earlier, Dema kind of like reckons with the consequences of her involvement in all this alien biology, especially in season 2, but maybe none more so than Fitz himself. In season 4, he gets put through the ringer in season 4 because of his inventions and his creations, right? We have the LMDs, the framework, and how all of that practically almost kills them. And there's even stuff, if not season 4, but and then of course in season 5 when he even goes further and like, straps Daisy down and like pulls the thing off of her, and then also but is,
I want Fitz to go talk to Donnie. Sorry? Donnie's withdrawn. Might know more than he's letting on. You're a hero here, Fitz. He looks up to you. Go hang out with him. Even if he has no clue who might be after him, he could use a friend.
That is a wonderful idea.
Continues to piss off Mac even further because I think a lot of people took issue with Mac, being so forceful with Fitz by the end of season 5, saying about you need to think more about the things that you're doing. By that point, Mac had been put in the framework, been killed by robots. He lost his virtual daughter, and it made him feel bad that he misses her more than his real daughter, Hope. And then at that point, he had been involved with basically Yo-Yo stabbing him in the back and escaping off of the base and doing their things and thinking that they're the Invincible 3 or whatever. So,
Of cramming into the boiler room?
Well, over the years, we made a few improvements. Do you have one of these operations?
Fitz gets all that thrown back at him, fairly or unfairly, depending on how you may think so. So something that I just connected then and there. I didn't even realize it myself, but yeah, that's a common thing that happens. We find encounter characters and scientists specifically, like even Dr. Radcliffe, who unfortunately himself becomes used by other forces himself. So yeah, but it also is very much linked in with Fitz and Simmons as the show progresses.
Drinks are on me.
By the way, what an amazing hangout spot. This the boiler room. Can I go there?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really fun spot to be at.
Mind if I come in?
Yeah. No, I don't.
Okay. My room was just like this.
It's really interesting. One of the things we don't talk about enough is the costumes and the costuming of the characters, which are a reflection of who the characters are, what they wear, right? In season 1 and maybe some of season 2, you see a lot of cardigans on Fitz himself, and that kind of goes away. I believe by season 3, he wears mostly button-ups. So it's really interesting to just track the development of the costumes. And there's a little bit of a tie he has. Yeah, you do see him with a tie. That skinny tie, which is, I think, supposed to really resemble the youth that he is. And then, of course, as he ages, he dresses older.
You shouldn't keep these big ideas to yourself. You should run them by your instructors.
These aren't my big ideas.
And even his hair, his hair right now is and his hair for the most part looks a little bit permy, and that kind of goes away as the show goes on. It becomes kind of skinnier hair, I think what we can call it. So
I know you're having a hard time believing what
They changed my memories. Who's to say they didn't change more?
I say. I know you, Phil. And I knew you before. You'd know I'd be the first to go down that road if I thought it led somewhere. Do you believe me, at least?
You have to understand how hard this is for me, right? She could just very easily clear it up. And I know that, again, when you see this looks like, why don't you just tell him? Mm. And he's going to react flippantly, too. Why didn't you just say that? Why are you're leading me down this, wild goose chase? But you have to remember how hard this is for her, because if she tells him what happened, she could risk his life.
I'm tired of secrets. So I'm glad we're here. We need to root out all the secrets.
Also, I'm tired of secrets, which, that's kind of an important thing for S.H.I.E.L.D. You know?
Yeah.
Agent Ward and I have been having sex.
I got him.
and then that was one right there.
Yeah.
And then it was okay, well, that was that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely forgot that part. What the hell? I don't know if you saw my face, but I was kind of wait, what?
Yep.
Blinking, you miss it.
How would you say the combat is doing? The choreography is at this point, 12 episodes in. Would you say it's pretty standard, pretty okay, or pretty good? When do you remember the combat choreography and the fight scenes getting really good?
I mean, it was for sure sometime after Sky got her powers.
Right, yeah.
I feel like.
I'm Agent Coulson with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, thank God. It's about the baby girl, isn't it?
But in this one specifically, I think there was a lot less cuts between the fight scenes, a little bit. But overall, it was pretty good.
Senior Agent called in an 084.
An object of unknown origin. We've dealt with those before.
He said the entire village had died, trying to protect this one. Okay, he managed to escape with a gunshot wound to the neck, but he bled out. He was still holding on to the 084.
Girl was the 084?
If she had powers or something, we never witnessed it. The 5 of us helicoptered the kid off, headed home. After we landed, we started getting crossed off.
So basically what's happening here is, as you recall, the village that was wiped out, Cal killed them. Well, not necessarily killed them, but he wrangled them up, and then Jiaying used all of those lives to revive herself. That's what I understand happened. And then, of course, the remaining S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were killed by Cal and Jiaying trying to get back their baby.
She set up a nearly invisible protocol. The foster system was ordered to move the child around every few months.
But they still got to Avery.
She died protecting that secret. Stop digging and stay the hell away from that girl. Because wherever she goes, death follows.
Tragic, but kind of true. There's a lot of death that's going to come.
It's best no one knows about this, for Sky's safety and for ours. You can never tell her.
That didn't work out, did it?
Nah, yeah. Especially with the it's just like weird coincidence. Like, I don't want secrets anymore. We kind of got to keep this one from her.
Exactly. Yeah, well, it's... I don't know how that's going to work out. And then also, it's like kind of a bomb there, but, you know, it's been revealed that Sky is an object of unknown origin. It's pretty big news. I mean, of course, now we know what that means. You know, she's part alien.
A battery that carries a terawatt of energy. This is amazing.
Would be, if it worked. I'm close. I built some quarter scale, and they would work at that size, but the heat increases at a 4-to-1 ratio with scale.
And it melts down.
It's really interesting that Fitz, and this might be one of the aspects of Fitz that we don't talk about enough. He finds companionship in a lot of people who continuously disappoint him. You know, his father left, right, when he was young. And he was an only sibling, so he's always trying to find either a sibling or a father dynamic with other characters. It didn't work out with Donnie, obviously, here. Sure as hell didn't work out with Ward. It worked out a lot with Hunter, and I think they were far more closer than we remember them being, because they really were in tune. But then, of course, he had to leave, so he couldn't stick around. Next, he found that in Holden Radcliffe, and that was less of a brother and more of a father-son dynamic, and that too didn't end quite so well, unfortunately. And it's funny how the person that finally sticks around is the one who he couldn't stand at all, and that would be Deke, which would be his grandson. So
Kids in my hometown wouldn't talk to me, and when S.H.I.E.L.D. told my dad I was gifted, he said, "At what?"
Yeah. Well, hang in there. You'll find a friend here.
it's really interesting to track all the different people that, you know, Fitz would have liked to have had like really, you know, fulfilling bonds with, you know, outside of course his girlfriend and wife at one point, but he has lost something, And we don't quite know what that is yet, but we are seeing a little bit of it here. But kind of interesting how by the time we get to the end of the show, he does find that, but in a source that gives him a lot of heartache a little bit, because not heartache, but like grief, if you will. And like, you know, it's interesting because Deke and Fitz have kind of like a dual relationship. It can be, and sometimes little brother, big brother relationship, but it also sometimes just feel like father-son, because Deke is such a child and Fitz by that point is not. And so it's more of like a little bit of a Scooby-Doo, Scrappy-Doo situation almost sometimes. So yeah, something interesting to keep in mind there.
I'm just saying they got to meet Agent Fitz. They've been talking about it for weeks.
Weeks? We just came here.
Yeah.
Talking about it to whom?
There you go.
Each other.
Each other. Are you beginning to remember this more now, David?
I did remember him being like the guy who caused it and all that. But I just can't remember the motivation for it.
This is Quinn's MO. He finds young talent and he takes advantage. Right?
Same thing, right?
Contact Ward and Agent Weaver. Have them widen their search to include Ian Quinn.
Come on.
Hey, can I talk to you for a second?
I have to brief May.
It's making it too obvious.
Yeah.
2 seconds. That's all.
I want to see what I'm paying for. In action. Right there. At S.H.I.E.L.D.
Then you'll come and get us?
I wouldn't be able to resist.
It's really interesting how Quinn is involved in this, because I mentioned it earlier weeks ago when we were talking about the 3rd episode. This relationship that we're seeing right here between Donnie and Seth kind of mirrors Quinn and Hall, Dr. Hall from the 3rd episode.
Mm-hmm.
How those two were working on something like Gravitonium a long time ago.
24 years ago, an entire S.H.I.E.L.D. team in a small village were massacred to protect and secure.
But I think what's really interesting about this is that we begin the episode with her really questioning, you know, how she entered into the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. But by the end of this episode, you're going to see she kind of comes around to an idea. And I think it really kind of shows how Skye is the type to just push on and find different ways to look at it. Because I feel like this information that comes to her that, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been watching and protecting her whole life. I feel like she kind of like recontextualized this question that she had about like, I hacked my way in. It's like, no, I didn't hack my way in. This is who I was meant to be with all along.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, though, that's true in the long term of the show, the 7 seasons, because by the time we get to the final episode, that she's just so afraid of losing the family that she's gained.
The ice stopped. So it's ending?
No. It's just beginning. We're in the eye of the storm.
But of course, that doesn't mean that she didn't have her own trials and tribulations. And various points throughout the seasons, she does try to convince herself otherwise of that idea. Whether it be the time that she thought that perhaps she could live with her actual parents before things ended up crapping out there. Whether it be the time that she thought it could be with Hive, and then of course that we all knew that was a no-win situation. Whether it be the time where she felt, you know what, I can't have people worry about me. This is it. I got to be on my own. That also didn't work out. I mean,
Hold on tight.
I wonder if there is a supercut on YouTube somewhere of all the times May came to the rescue with her flying skills.
The theme playing in that moment. That was so cool.
Right.
You told her, didn't you?
I had to.
Must have destroyed her to hear all that.
That's the thing about Skye. She said no. Her story started here. Her whole life, she thought she wasn't wanted, that she didn't belong, that every family that took her in didn't want her to stay, didn't care. But all that time, it was S.H.I.E.L.D. protecting her. Here I am telling her something that could destroy her faith in humanity, and somehow she manages to repair a little piece of mind.
It's a great scene.
Right?
Oh my god.
We're just so sucked into it. That's why we love the show.
Well, thank you, Agent Coulson. And I have a message for you. The clairvoyant told me to say hello.
I remember when I first watched that, I was like, what?
Yeah. I need you to. Oh! No, but
so freaking unnerving.
That scene, though, of Coulson explaining what Sky said. When I saw that scene, in that like breakdown, that breakdown video that you showed me, I can't remember the girl's name.
Oh, I was like, what video did I show you? Oh, hers. That's right. It was, I'll look it up right now to make sure I have the name of it, because I forget myself, but I'm going to get it to you right now. And actually, it's very important. This actually, in large part, why we're even doing this show is because she went out there and did this video that, okay, it is Emma. That's Emma Lee B. The video that she made was the show Marvel Forgot, the messy history of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is very, very beginning of it. About 3 hours long, worth every second. And at this point, when I first shared her video with you, I'm not even sure it was anywhere around 15,000 views. It now has 74,000 views.
Dang. That's cool.
Yeah.
But
you were saying.
Yeah, no, when she put that clip in, I can't remember what she was talking about exactly. I think it was just Daisy's character arc in the first season and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But when she put that clip in, I was like nearly in tears just because, oh my gosh, I literally did not remember that moment. And I'm like, what? This is why she is so like invested. It's S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, this is the moment that, like, for sure decided, like, she wanted to be.
Why is that she makes it her life?
Yeah.
There's even a scene in the first episode or second episode of season 2 where Hunter even challenges her on that, saying that S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't a life. She's like, but it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It is her life.
Yeah. But fantastic moment.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's stuff like that that really makes you question. People thought this was bad. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't get it.
No, I clearly. This is David Sims and Oliver Saba on AV Club. Now that's a bit more like what I expect from this series. Hopefully the title of this week's episode means that this is the type of storytelling we'll be getting more of in the future, because Seeds does stronger work strengthening character relationships and progressing different storylines, while also including shoutouts to the larger Marvel universe. God, reading these reviews really sucks this early on in the show. It's like, it doesn't matter. We don't need shout outs to the larger Marvel universe. And this person was saying, oh, because apparently Donnie Gill's an Iron Man villain. Okay. That means nothing to the show. Iron Man doesn't even make an appearance. Like, he's nothing to the show. Part of the foundation of superhero stories is establishing a basic absurdity that allows for the suspension of disbelief. It's why Superman can throw on a suit and a pair of glasses and disappear into the identity of Clark Kent without the reader constantly pointing out that it's a lousy disguise. Until recently. Mm-hmm. The secret identity is feasible, referring to the new one that we're coming out with James Gunn here, and the recent photos that came out, which were spectacular in my view. Mm-hmm. It's if an immigrant alien can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes and freeze things with his breath. So clearly, So clearly reality works differently in S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously. So last week I read about how bland so much of the show is, and it brings me great pleasure to say that this episode finally brought some flavor. The one hand-to-hand combat sequence between May and former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent actually showcases dynamic choreography and camera work, and the dialogue contains laugh-out-loud moments while creating a much better sense of who these characters are and how much they relate to each other. Jed Whedon co-wrote this episode with Monica Owosso-Breen, and the spirit of Jed's brother, Joss, seems to be guiding the two writers. The banter is the best it's been, with Fitz delivering one particularly gut-busting line that plays like a classic Whedon line. After Skye comments that Fitz looks younger than the rest of the team, he responds, "Time will come when you won't make fun of me for that. You'll be jealous. You'll be jealous. You'll be jealous, sprinkly old hags." Time comes for us all. Fitz is best when he's bitchy, and they find that out later on. And that character direction sets him apart from his goody-good lab mate while putting him in a more antagonistic position with other members of the team. I don't know if antagonistic is the right way to approach, to characterize what was going on, but okay. It also gives viewers a much stronger idea of the world Fitz and Simmons are coming from and helps us understand why they're so valuable to Coulson's team. Their brains made them legends on campus, which is a nice contrast to their role as the nerdy sidekicks on the bus. And seeing how revered Fitz and Simmons are on campus lends some added mystique to the characters that makes them better fits for the Special S.H.I.E.L.D. task force. While Ward, Skye, Fitz, and Simmons investigate the string of icy incidents on campus, Coulson and May head to Mexico City to investigate a lead on Skye's past. An air of mystery is what Skye's character has needed the entire season, and Seeds finally gives her that by attaching her to 3 numbers, 084. That's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s code for Object of Unknown Origin, usually used for things like hammers that fall from the sky. Baby Skye was an 084 whose parents were killed along with a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that saved her life, and a foreboding warning that death follows her wherever has me more interested in Skye than ever before. There's a whole new set of questions surrounding Skye that goes beyond the identity of her birth parents, and I find myself developing an interest in finding out the answers. Coulson was already the best part of the show because Clark Gregg's performance, but there's a new fire behind the character since last week's reveal, that his memories were manipulated so that he wouldn't remember the horrific process that brought him back to life. His experience is forcing him to reconsider the standard S.H.I.E.L.D. protocol of secrets and manipulation, sending him down a path of righteousness that presents some very intriguing narrative opportunities moving forward. And then David Sims comes in here. Honestly, Oliver, I kind of wish this had been the pilot episode of the show. Sure, we've had so much fun dragging out the mystery of Tahiti, not, and Skye's parentage, not. But this was an episode that laid out a lot of the show's conflicts, gave us some vital background and detail about the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization, and like you said, it was pretty fun. It wasn't quite the rollicking time I might have hoped for from a Joss Whedon show, but it at least had some life in it, and it gives us some nice material to move forward with. What's frustrating is that it took us long to get here. The mystery of Coulson's resurrection, which is now leading him to cut the bullshit and just be straightforward with Skye and everyone else, has barely developed at all since the pilot. Why couldn't we have started here? The audience is smart enough to know that something troubling happened, and since Coulson began the show as a bit of a renegade, the increase in bluntness isn't really a massive surprise. Either way, it's nice to have it, and I hope we get more of it in future weeks. So Skye, as well, should have started here. She's weirdly a character with 2 dark pasts, both the mystery orphan angle and her time mixing it up with the bad guys. Since again, the audience is smart enough to know Skye's not going to turn traitor, it's too bad we wasted week after week with that angle. This is what makes sense for her. She's special in some way. She's searching through S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secrets for facts about her past, and she's found somewhat of a father figure in Coulson. I'm going to pause this right here. David, I really have to ask you. I'm sorry, but I feel like... Did you watch the first 11 episodes? This reads like somebody who didn't watch that at all.
Mm-hmm.
This was there. All of this was there from the first episode. What do you mean all of a sudden things are interesting for you? I mean, I'm happy you found some enjoyment in it in the 12th week, but I'm having a hard time understanding what exactly you mean. Like, what all of a sudden changed in this episode? I mean, they're describing what changed. I'm refuting it, though, because it's already been there. We've been talking about it from the first episode. So what? I don't understand. Okay. Anyway, they gave this the grade of a B, which is a lot higher than their usual. The average of the episode grades they've been giving them are D- or D+. So I think that's a bit of an improvement. Let's go over to Eric Goldman, IGN. Following Franklin. Following Franklin Hall and Graviton earlier this season, this episode gave us our second direct Marvel. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. That aside, the trip to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Science and Technology Division Academy was pretty entertaining, offering us a look at where Fitz and Simmons not only got their start, but where they were incredibly popular. This episode also gave us some very funny and strong Fitz moments, including this annoyed, "You'll be jealous, wrinkly old hags" retort to just being teased just about how young he looks. His empathy with Donnie's feelings of being an outcast were also well done. We also got movement on Sky's backstory, which I hope put to bed most of the May is Sky's mother theories floating about online. I had no idea there were even those theories. But also kind of unironically, that kind of ends up being true in a way, because I mean, she's the surrogate mom in the long run, so interesting. Basically. Yeah, the revelation that Sky was important even as a baby and may have powers is pretty notable. They still keep telling us Sky is incredibly loving, caring, and heroic, more than actually showing it. Eric, I'm sorry, I gotta stop you right there, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about. I know they're saying it a lot, but they're showing it every chance they get to.
They show it a lot.
I'm sorry.
I can understand that they might have added too much in Coulson's dialogue moment. Like, I feel like they could have just toned it down a notch, kind of, at the very least, just start off with the fact, like, no, that's not what she said at all. You know, she said this and all that. And it's just like, I can't believe she... Instead of just, I don't know, just... I gotta look at his dialogue, like what exactly that he said, but it was basically like, how was it? Sort of like, you know, oh, she could have thought of the worst things ever, blah, 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 but instead she chose the good and all that, and all that. It didn't have to be too on the nose. I can understand that. They could have broken it down to maybe just Coulson, just give him more of a surprise of like, I can't believe she actually said this. You know, she said that this is where everything started. This is the family that tried to protect me and all that, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe just stick to the whole, that part of it saved me. Like, what did he say exactly? Like, gave...
It restored a bit of my hope, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look, that's fair and all. I just feel like every single episode has had at least a single moment where they've shown how much of a caring person she is. Mm-hmm. I mean, that we just... she very much loves Coulson already, and she went through all that to save, you know, him, but she also went out of her way to hack into S.H.I.E.L.D. to save Fitz and Ward. She very much was like breaking down, emotionally crying at the prospect of Simmons dying almost of that virus. We had a whole episode where she was basically put in charge by Coulson to watch that woman that they thought had telekinetic abilities, but it turns out was actually being like haunted by a non-corporeal man. And how much, you know, she cared about her. It's like, I'm sorry. I don't buy that argument that we haven't seen her actually care. The fact that we haven't seen her be loving or caring or heroic. Are you kidding me? I don't get it. I don't know where that's coming from. Eric continues, this episode also delivered a rather cool fight scene for May and her former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Lumley in that alley. Plus, May coming clean to Coulson about her relationship with Ward was good to see, delivered via a funny moment when he leapt out of the car just as she said it, and a nice moment later when they acknowledged that, yes, he heard what she said. Sky's, Bucky Barnes moment felt like a pretty unneeded bit of fan service and name dropping in an episode that already was giving us Blizzard introduction. I'm sorry. I want to say the majority of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. audience back in 2014 January when this aired, I am so sorry to say, but I cannot imagine very many people realize that Donnie Gill's character came from the Iron Man comics. I didn't know that until right now.
Mm-hmm. I was actually confused by you for a second. I'm like, Iron Man villain? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, yeah, it's a deep cut from the comics apparently, but I don't know if this counts as something most people are gonna notice. That's what the Bucky Barnes thing is there for. I think it's harmless because it's there on the Wall of Valor. It's like, why is he on the Wall of Valor? Because he was one of the first agents to die in the line of duty.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was unneeded, but okay. Anyway, he called the episode great, saying that it was one of the stronger episodes thus far. It was better paced and had more naturally fun feel. And ultimately, it felt like a much better step forward for the series than the two-parter the show wrapped up last week. Okay. Interesting. I mean, these are positive reviews, and yet somehow I'm still finding some things to nitpick here. But I mean, it's I don't know. What do you make of these takes?
I mean, the two standouts were the one that I was commenting on. Then the other one was what was it? They wish that the show had started here.
Yeah, that was the AV Club. That was the AV Club that was doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one I did not like much. I can understand it if this was like a 10 to 13 episode series. Then I would probably be like, yeah, I get that. You know, we get a lot of information about how S.H.I.E.L.D. works. We got big information on the main character, Sky. Thing though is it's not that. It's a long form show, and everything else that we had before was far more important. Especially like, even though it's like it's a quick explanation of it, the OE4 thing is very important. What was that? Second episode? Or
I'm gonna stop you right there, David. I think I'm gonna need to apologize to our audience right now. This moment occurred to me. I'm not. Is the quality on my camera? I think it dipped in this episode. I didn't need to apologize because I have. Yeah, I apologize to all of you guys. I had the wrong settings. I actually was using my MacBook FaceTime camera and not my goddamn iPhone camera. I am, and the thing is, it's set up to. I just like, why does it look so? And there you go. There. Sorry, but hey, here I am. I guess in crystal clear HD. Sorry. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
I forgot what I was saying.
Of course you did. I'm sorry, but I couldn't let that go. I'm like, oh my god, you idiot! I knew something was going to fuck up on the first time we come back in 2 weeks. It's not that big of a deal. You guys saw me.
No, yeah,
right? It's fine.
I'll see if I can try to fix it up a bit.
You don't need to. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
But no, it's like I said, the information about the OE4 thing, like, you know, the one agent says like we were following an OE4, then Coulson says OE4 origin or
an object of unknown origin.
Unknown origin. Yeah, it's like quick explanation, but seeing what an OA4 mission can happen in a mission like that kind of adds to what the man was explaining. It's like, oh wow, it's like, okay, object, you know, there can be some danger, but then he goes, the whole entire village is dead, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
And the lead agent in that was found dead also, and then you get the whole reveal that the object was Daisy, a person. So now you're kind of like, holy shit, like what the hell is her story? Like, where did she come from? it tells us a lot of stuff, but also just like gives us even more questions at the same time. Good questions though, not like wait, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. Like no, this all of it makes sense. Like it's really important. That episode is actually like really important, just to kind of give us an idea of like how big her situation was when they found her and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But also just kind of adds more mystery, cool mystery into her character. It's great. So yeah, I agree with the whole. They should have started with this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're grateful in some way for a positive review, but it also just makes us wonder. It's like, I don't.
You're just not. How do you?
I don't. It's not registering to you guys. It's just not. It's not clicking. I don't think. Okay. By the way, I want to shout out David's amazing shirt. Is that Starro that I'm seeing there?
Yeah.
That's incredible. I hadn't seen that shirt before. Great. And the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So yeah. I don't know if you are all interested, Shield fans, but we do have some audio commentaries and some films you might be interested or may have already seen and may be interested to get our takes on this channel, as a matter of fact. I honestly forget how many, but I know that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Captain Marvel, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, I believe, are some of the ones that we've had that are Marvel related, and then also there have been plenty of Star Wars audio commentaries as well. So if you guys want to hear our thoughts on that, you're more than welcome to. But I feel we're gonna end it here. Thank you all for watching and listening. Please continue to comment on whatever you like or didn't like. If you feel you need to, if we got some things wrong, got some things right, and feel you need to say it to us, please go ahead and do so. Stay tuned under our red spotlight for more content and more. Remember, we air these shows every single Friday. Thank you, David. Thank you all of you for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.